Hey everyone, and welcome to
Chew on Something, where we chew on something for the taste buds
and the mind.
Thank you for joining us for our third episode. Ooh, I'll edit confetti coming down. So, this episode we're going to be touching on the power of sisterhood and how that has been a working relationship within our own line of work, especially together.
And I think for us, we were raised to really value that we were born with a friend. Not only a friend, she's my best friend.
You're my best friend too, Soprano.
We were raised to see each other as a blessing and to be grateful that we were born with someone that we could lean on, someone that we could help support each other.
Sisterhood wasn't about being competitive. I mean, there's nothing wrong with positive and healthy competition. That's always great. I mean, we do have that. We never were pitted against one another.
Right.
And we never allowed ourselves to be pitted against one another. We come from this background that if you have a problem with her, you have a problem with me.
Exactly.
So we were raised to always have each other's backs, and no one is going to love you more than your twin sister, and vice versa.
And that just actually made me think of a quick story about when we were actually doing a job, and it was for the wristband, so it counts your steps.
I know, I already thought of that.
So it counts your steps, and TK was like, you know what? Whatever steps I get during the day, I'll get through them. Meanwhile, I was like at the gym, working out, running, trying to get as many steps as possible. So it would show up on my wristband. And then I told TK, mistakenly told her how many steps I had. And she was like, oh, okay. Look, I went to sleep.
I took that opportunity to gain my steps when she slept.
I went to sleep and I woke up in the morning and she was above me about like 5,000 steps or something. I was like, what? I rushed, put my gym clothes on, ran to the gym, and I was like looking because it was, a certain amount of time that we were able to do the steps. And I was like, look, I thought someone didn't care.
I didn't care until she told me. And I was like, And then my little competition sparked up in my head. And I said, well, maybe I can get more steps. But it should have been a split screen because, see, Brianna's at the gym, but I'm in my small New York apartment running in place. Just running in place, trying to get all those steps. So, I mean, I gained more steps just by running in place, and C. Brown was actually working out.
But, she did.
But I won.
She did wind up beating me. She won. But, I actually admired the hustle. I wasn't even mad at it.
Right.
I just thought the whole thing was hilarious. Yeah, so that's what we said. We don't mind like a healthy competition, but I feel like that competition the foundation should be based in supporting each other.
And love.
Yes.
That's a big component of our sisterhood is love and trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that it's been interesting, taking our sisterhood in the workplace.
Yes.
Especially as Black women who have a very strong sisterhood. And that perception is not prevalent in entertainment. And we've had, our own experiences working together as Black women who have a powerful sisterhood within the industry, having to speak up during times. No one expects you to speak up, because they think you're just talented and you keep your mouth shut and you do what they say. But not these ladies.
No. And also, too, it's also very interesting because we've had this over the years because we want to be completely transparent with all of you, we have been approached to do shows before. And it always seems to come back to, well, what do you guys like argue about? Like, is there any kind of conflict between you two?
That's always and we've been approached a few times, and it's always one of the top questions. And T. Brown and I, we always look at each other and go, There's no conflict. We love each other.
I mean, honestly, that's the truth.
Yes.
I mean, the only time you're going to see some conflict is if we're trying to split some food evenly.
Yeah.
And someone has a bigger
We had
half than
we
the
had
other
an
one.
argument the other day about pizza. I ain't even gonna go in there, Sabrina, because
Yeah,
she was angry at me, y'all.
well, I don't eat pizza a lot. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's the only thing we're gonna be arguing about. Is
and
food.
we made up in 2 seconds.
Yeah, that was always the number one question regarding our relationship. Did we have any conflict? Did we argue?
Mm-hmm.
And this speaks volumes about the perception of Black women in the reality space
And media in
and
general.
media. You always hear these conversations that Black women aren't monolithic.
Mhm.
I always like to think of Black women are everything. I think of it in music terms, like we're jazz, we're classical, we're R&B, we're electronic, we're indie, we're rock, we're soul, we're everything. So we're not just one category. However, stereotypically, Black women are pushed into these categories that are strictly hip hop and R&B.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with those genres. I love them. Like I do hip hop, I rap, I love it. But there's so many more genres that represent Black women, but often we're pitted and fitted in these boxes that don't speak to the multifaceted wonders of a Black woman.
Right. And if we're not in these stereotypical boxes, then you're not looked as a Black woman.
Or Black enough.
The way that
heard
you
it.
speak. Oh, that don't sound Black.
Right. You sound white.
Right. So if you're not fitted
Yeah.
into these stereotypical boxes, then you're not considered Black enough.
Right. And also, which is a good point, we're going to say sounding Black and sounding white. And I can't stand those phrases because usually sounding Black is attached with or synonymous with these terms that I can't stand, like hood rat, ratchet, ghetto. And let me tell you, I wrote a whole song about this when I was a kid, talking about the word ghetto and how ghetto is always synonymous with Black culture. And that's completely erroneous. Can I just digress a bit into the word ghetto?
Go on
Because
ahead.
I wrote a whole song about it.
I know
when
she's
I was a
gonna
kid.
do what she do. So go ahead, teach the people.
I'll be real quick.
It's a teachable lesson.
I'll be real quick. The word ghetto is from a Venetian word. And in the 1500s, the ruling party in Venice were really worried about an influx of Jewish people coming to Venice. So they coerced the Jewish people to this small island. And it was only accessible by 2 bridges, had it heavily guarded. So the Jewish people could only go out during the day and weren't permitted to leave this island at night. And talk about egregious, but those neighborhoods that were regulated for only Jewish people were called ghettos. It's transitioned into being synonymous with words that are, synonymous with Black culture. And I can't stand it. I can't stand that word. Just because it's usually used in terms in defining what Black means and Black culture and how a Black person should be defined. When you hear someone say, "Oh, that's so ghetto," sometimes I'll hear other people, other races use it, and I can't stand that word because I know where they're getting it from. I know how it's being used and which reference. But anyway, yes. Going back to what we were talking about in terms of sounding Black and sounding white, also too, eloquence is associated with sounding white. I had this funny story when I was a kid. I was dating this guy. I was like probably 18 or something, and I called him. His little brother picked up the phone, and he goes, yells, so-and-so his name. He's like, "There's some white girl on the phone for you." And I said, "Excuse me, sir." And I sit your little 8-year-old butt down. But I've experienced that in our own line of work. "Oh, you speak so well. You speak so." Okay, is that shocking?
Or if you're approached by brands and you're doing voiceover work and this whole term of like, we want you to sound authentic. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Because the way that I'm speaking now is my authentic self.
Right.
But what you mean is that you want a certain way of speaking that you're used to hearing because you are so brainwashed by the stereotypical examples of what
Right.
Black women can sound like. And it's not judging anyone. If you speak a certain way, you act a certain way, if that's your authentic self, it doesn't matter. But what happens is when we try to push a certain race in a box and then say, oh, this is how you're supposed to act, this is how you're supposed to talk. And if you don't act in these ways that's in the stereotypical box, then you're not considered Black enough.
Right. And, also too, media and entertainment has been culpable as well, as far as, sort of continuing this narrative of what represents a Black woman. And I'm not saying the entire entertainment and media industry is fully culpable or 100% at fault.
I mean, because it is definitely changing.
Right. That's a part of the problem.
Right.
A part of the problem is that you have a demographic of people that have never interacted with Black people. So they assume what they see on TV is the only representation of Black people, right? And what we see on TV as far as Black people being represented in the reality space is just a part of representation of Black people. It doesn't represent all Black people. And there's nothing wrong with the representation that is on TV. But the problem is that it's not enough variety of the representation of Black people on TV. And also in these executive positions, a lot of times you don't have people of color. You don't have Black people that are saying like, oh, well, we need more representation of this. It shouldn't be only, this box. We need to, check a few more other boxes where it's like representing, like I said, the multifaceted wonders of, Black people.
And also too, times are changing. There have been some, amazing examples, like especially within the entertainment industry regarding television, like, Insecure, which I loved, or, Girlfriends back in the day.
Or Shonda Rhimes, she's
Yes.
writer, producer, it's incredible.
Has been pushing the boundaries and setting and just really showing the truth of what Black women are. And then also too, as well as Grownish.
Girlfriends was a wonderful representation. Personally, I know the things that we've encountered working in the industry. We did a TED Talks together at FIT, which never came out because the sound got messed up. Seagrass sound.
Well, it was the first time that they had two speakers on the stage at the same time. So during our TEDx talk, the sound engineer completely, so my audio
He dropped the ball.
Right.
Y'all.
So my audio didn't come out.
Right.
So it was really unusable.
Yeah. We were talking about diversity and inclusivity in the fashion industry. And I brought up this example, I called it the urban factor, right? A lot of times when you're working in the fashion industry, there'll be a lot of maybe clients or brands that might only see Black talent through this one narrow-minded purview. And it's usually synonymous with the urban idea, right? The urban wear. So we showed up on set for this well-known magazine, and they were featuring us on our Sisterhood and our own style. So it wasn't as if we were just showing up as models and the stylist dresses us and we're telling a story. It was our own personal story. Stylist had no idea about her personal style because we show up on the trailer and she had pulled some things aside and it was like baggy sweats and baggy t-shirts, some baggy jeans. And on the other side of the rack were all these like flowy silhouettes and couture dresses. And we spoke up and I said, Miss Ma'am, if you do not take those phalanges and pull down some of those flowy silhouettes and couture dresses ASAP. Well, I didn't say it like that, but I said
that's what
in my head,
That's what she was thinking.
In my head, right? When you're typing email and sometimes it's a business email and someone steps you the wrong way, you would be like,
today
like,
I do not have the time.
Delete, and you're like, per my last email. So anyway, it was basically like that. I didn't say that, but we spoke up and said we'd like to try on some of the other options over there. And she was like, oh, okay.
Right. I mean, because for me, like I grew up wearing like cowboy boots. I mean,
I grew up I was a tomboy when I was a kid.
Right.
So I always was wearing sweats and baggy clothes. But as a young adult and into fashion, it's completely opposite.
I mean, in high school, that's what I wore too. I wore
Right.
sweatpants and like sneakers.
And I'm not
but
saying there's
once
anything-
I graduated from high school, then I
Right.
was wearing like flowy skirts, cowboy boots. Like
And
that was
that's-
my style.
Right. And not saying that there's anything wrong with the items that she pulled, but they were just the wrong items for us and our personal style at the time.
Right, because the feature was specifically on like Sisterhood
style.
and our style, our
Right.
personal style.
But at the same time, too, the other women that were being featured were all white. So she
Right.
had reserved all of these flowy silhouettes and couture dresses for the white talent. But for the only two black talent, she had pulled these looks.
right.
And I'm just, we've encountered that often within the industry of how, some brands and some clients may only see black talent through this narrow-minded purview.
Right. Some brands do their homework.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite a
And they
few.
see our style, and we
Right.
work with some really great brands, some really great people.
They have asked us for an input. It's been great. you
Yeah,
know?
but on the flip side, we have dealt with a lot of crews and brands and companies that still have this very narrow-minded idea of what Black people are.
And
It's-
how they should be represented.
Yes.
As if they should be setting the guidelines and telling us how we should be represented as Black people.
Touche. But like for us, also it helps to work with each other because, like I said in the beginning of the show, we were taught to value each other and see each other as a blessing. Because just because you have a sibling, that doesn't mean that they're going to be your best friend.
Right.
Because like any relationship, sisterhood, brotherhood, it takes work. It takes work to really value that relationship and put trust in each other. And it's not a give. It's a give and take back and forth constantly for the
Right.
rest of your life. It's like any other relationship that you really value and want to sustain for the rest of your life.
Yes. Us working together, I feel like we're really fortunate, to be in these arenas and have one another's back and also be able to speak up when we feel there's a time to speak up. I know a lot of times too, when you have talent in these situations, they're reticent to speak up because they fear that it's going to affect their working relationship. And I always say there's a way you can go about it, right? There's a way that you can go about it and speak up and not burn bridges. It also depends what's being said to you.
Right. But I also think we also have to change this narrative around, like, when you mentioned about speaking up, but like when it comes to that matter, who's speaking up? Because when you have, Black talent speaking up or just speaking on different issues. So if you're on social media and you're speaking about different issues and you are a Black person or a person of color, and then you are judged a lot more harshly versus someone who is white that's speaking the same things that you're speaking and they get all the accolades while you are viewed in this very judgmental, harsh way instead of an opening and listening way and being like, oh, well, let me listen because there is truth to this.
Right. And, we see it time and time again. And some very high profile white celebrities have spoken up on these issues, which is great.
Right.
However, when you have Black celebrities that speak up on the same issues, they're penalized. And usually you see it career wise.
Right.
They're
So it
penalized
affects
in
their pockets.
Right. So also too, that was something we noticed when we had started garnering some attention together in the fashion world that, this was before everyone thought it was trendy to have a cause. And I say that slightly with some sarcasm because obviously for some people it's very performative, Some people it's not, and you can see it, and you can see whether or not it's authentic or not. But when we entered the industry, we were two of the few Black women that were really speaking on these issues of diversity and inclusivity. And this is not to applaud us on the back or anything like that, but I'm just saying that I can understand why some people would be reticent because they feared that it would affect their pockets. I don't blame them. I don't judge them. People got bills to pay, but I know within our hearts, it was very difficult for us to stay on the sidelines and not say anything. And that had a lot to do with our background, growing up with a lot of racism in Maryland.
I mean, and for
And
me,
discrimination.
to like my whole, stepping into this whole fashion and beauty industry started with a website that I had co-founded with another young woman in 2011. And it was all about breaking these stereotypes that you would see, 2011. Wow. Ooh, that's 11 years ago.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so we were really working on featuring Black women, women of color, dispelling all these myths that were being shown constantly on reality TV and just media in general. So we have always been speaking about these issues because it's always been very important to us.
Right. And, those who've been following us for a long time will know that we've been walking the walk, y'all.
Yeah.
But
Talking the talk and walking the walk.
Yeah, so this might be a good time to walk on in to our Chew on Something break.
Oh my gosh. I am
Hey.
excited.
Hey.
This time it is my time to sit back and relax.
Let a lady do what she gonna do.
And on that note, we'll be back.
We'll see you shortly. So here we are for a Chew on Something break.
And what are we having today, TK?
Shake that melon. This melon, not these.
Yes, not these melons, this melon.
This melon.
But if you feel so inclined,
shake them both. So we're going to be blending. We're going to do two versions. One will be a version that's served over ice, and one will be a blended version, so a slushy. And the spirit of today is, the spirit choice of today is whiskey and bourbon. So we're going to do both.
This is mix of both?
Yes, this is actually a bourbon whiskey blend, and this is a whiskey infused with grapefruit and jalapeno. And just a quick note that all bourbons are whiskey, but not all whiskeys are bourbon. And for a bourbon to be considered a bourbon, it has to be made in America. It has to be made in America.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that.
Yeah,
Learn something every day.
Well,
I can fly just as high. Read a book. It's in a book.
where are we going, sis? Where are we going with this?
I don't know where I'm going. I'm just excited. So
I did love reading Rainbow. I can fly anywhere. Just take a look and read a book.
It's in a book.
It's in a book. It's reading rainbow. It's reading rainbow. Reading rainbow. Reading rainbow. Okay. I was like, where are you going? But let me join in. All right, so we're going to do the over ice version first.
Okay.
So I made basically a watermelon syrup, which is, I took some fresh watermelon, took the juices from that and combined it with sugar and cinnamon.
So is it also the fruit in it as well, the watermelon?
Yes.
Like fiber as well in there?
Yes, the whole shebang.
Okay.
The fresh watermelon and combine it with sugar and cinnamon. And you want to do frozen because you want it to come out with a thicker consistency. So I'm going to take some of the juices and you put it in a Ziploc bag and you let it sit for 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to take some of this syrup, delicious. Oh, that beautiful color, y'all. Look at that. Also, do you know how to pick out a ripe watermelon? I learned this myself. I just learned this. Is that you pick a watermelon that has a nice yellow spot on it.
So do you mean like the core?
No,
or
no.
just
it has a
on
big
the,
on the watermelon. It has
On
a
the
yellow,
watermelon.
a big
Oh,
yellow
okay.
spot on it, and that indicates where the watermelon's been laying on the ground.
Uh-huh.
And that shows you how ripe it is because watermelon turns from green to white to yellow. And when you see yellow spot, that's when it's at its most ripest.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, see, our stepdad taught us something as well. Like if the core, so you see the tiny spots on the top and
end
the
of-
bottom,
yeah.
right? So the ends of the watermelon. If you find one that has like pitch black, that indicates like the sweetness,
Sugar.
the sugar
Mhm.
content of the watermelon. So the darker, so you want to get like a black spot on each end of the watermelon. So when you see that, that means it has a high sugar content. So it means it's really delicious. But
Either or,
two
right?
great ways to find the perfect watermelon.
Mm-hmm. Sure is. So I'm just pouring some of that syrup in here in the glass. And we're just going to put that in the shaker with some ice and some of the bourbon and whiskey and shake it. So this will be the over ice version.
I'm so hungry. I'm looking at her take this watermelon out and some of it's dripping a little bit in the sink. And I just pictured myself like going down, like, capturing the droplets.
Yeah, we're just gonna make a small example glass of this because, the main cocktail of the day will be the slushy one. All right, so we're gonna put this into the blender. You gotta stay close to the mic. And that has all that cinnamon has all that cinnamon and sugar.
So this was set overnight
For 24 hours, yes.
Wow.
And then we're going to throw this whiskey in there. We're going to do 1.5 ounces. There's 2 of us, so. During quarantine, I said that I was fooling around with cocktails, and I said we'll be doing quarantine pours. So I'll do 1.5 ounces. A quarantine pour for me would be, because generally for cocktails, it's either 1.5 ounces of spirit or 2 ounces.
Okay.
But quarantine pour could be like 2.5 ounces. But if you're doing double, 3. Make sure you're just being safe.
So this is the after quarantine pour, back to regular.
Fortunately. Yes. Okay. And then we'll pour some of that bourbon in there. That delicious bourbon. Figure out this blender. Is this the right way, sis?
Yeah.
Okay. Push all down. All right, so now I'm gonna put the ice in there. I should blend this first. Let's blend this.
She's using my blender, y'all. That's why we're.
I don't know how you do it.
That's why she's just trying to
Ask
figure it out.
questions when you don't know, y'all. I'm ashamed. Throw some ice cubes in there. Let's save a little for the over ice. Throw some mint leaves in. Now the trick with mint leaves is you want to put that in the last tail of the blend because
Why?
when you blend it for too long, it can taste too bitter.
Really?
Yep. So you're supposed to blend it for 10 to 20 seconds on the tail end. Did I forget anything? Okay. See how it tastes.
This is the slush version.
Yes.
Kind of
So
like
ideally,
a frosé,
right.
but a shaken
Ideally,
melon.
would blend it and then throw it in the freezer for a little bit so it could get more slushy.
Okay.
Which is what we can do, but we'll just pour it.
We don't have time.
Yeah, but you can see it still has a
Yeah, it
creamy
does.
because the watermelon's frozen.
And it still has the fiber from the fruit in it.
Exactly. Look at that. Gotta be a twin. Gotta pour it evenly. All right, sis.
And thank you.
Welcome. And then you just garnish it with some mint on top.
And now I'm going to just introduce the stainless steel straws because our dentist recommended when you're drinking alcohol
Oh, yes.
to drink with a straw.
Cheers. Cheers, DK. Dazam! Dazam. Dazam.
When you taste something and you're like, I would like this on a bigger size. So automatically my eyes went to this. And I was like, you could just fill her on up. Fill her on up.
Hey.
Go on, fill her. Fill her on up.
Hey, honestly, I didn't know how this would come out because this is my first time combining all these ingredients. I wasn't too sure about the grapefruit whiskey and the whiskey infused with the grapefruit and jalapeno, how that would go well with everything.
It is delicious.
That's good.
Wow.
Hey.
When we come back from our break, I'll probably be a little bit more composed, but let me tell you something.
Okay, well, let me get into the other one real quick. This one is the one you can do just with ice. So put that in the mixer.
I'll be silent for the rest of this break.
I'll do this at editing. Got to cut because I got to go get my bourbon. I'll do just 1 ounce because I don't have too much watermelon syrup left over and I don't want the bourbon to overpower. So I'll just do 1/2 ounce of this whiskey jalapeno infused with grapefruit. And shake it. Shake that melon. Oh, I gotta put my mint leaves in there. Be interesting how it'll taste when just shaking it though. You know, with the mint. Means I gotta shake it real hard.
I've left the conversation.
Sorry, y'all.
This is good.
So I gotta shake this really. Really gotta shake that melon. All right, so. Oh, look at that. Nice creamy color.
Oh, wow.
It's really good. It tastes different, but not vastly different, but you can taste how it tastes versus a slushy and versus it being.
Yes.
But it's still really
It's still
really
very
good.
delicious.
I think this would be great.
Thank you, sis.
I think this would be great for someone who's not a big fan of frozen drinks
Mhm.
and would like it a little more powerful.
But luckily, I'm a fan of both, so get your own. Okay. You know I'm teasing.
I know,
but
just
it's
teasing.
delicious. Yeah.
Oh, God, you like it.
We're very giving people, but I do
Yeah.
have to say sometimes when it comes to my food, a lot of other things, very
Mhm.
giving, but
Mhm.
sometimes when it comes down to my food, y'all,
Mhm. Well, you know, I'm glad you like it, sis.
it is delicious.
I'm quite proud. Look, I honestly didn't know how this was all going to turn out, but I'm pleasantly surprised.
Mm.
I'm not surprised because I'm not that bad at mixing drinks, but I'm surprised.
You shouldn't be surprised. I don't know why you're saying you surprised for. I wasn't surprised. I would like another.
Let's put these in the freezer because, you know, we want to be a little coherent for the next half, right?
That's very true. We are about our professionalism.
Yeah, because,
As I said, as I finished almost half
maybe
my
you,
cocktail.
yes. All right, let's jump back into the second
Okay,
half.
let's go. You did your thing, TK.
Thank you.
Delicious.
Thank you. So we're back.
Ooh.
Did you like that?
Ooh, TK did her thing in the kitchen.
That melon.
No, I can't keep that shape, that melon in this kitchen. I'll be shaking it every night. You know, I'm
Thanks,
dealing
sis.
with my sugar addiction.
Thanks, sis. Well, that's why we say everything in moderation.
That's what I
right?
said. Everything in moderation. That was delicious, seriously.
Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. Coming from you, that's a compliment.
Yeah, it was incredible. So,
Thank you.
but try it at home for yourself. You'll see.
Exactly. Try it for yourself. Yeah, you know, talking about our experience as sisterhood and working in the industry, I remember that there was this particular job that I was up for, and it was myself and two other talent that were up for it, and they were white. And I remember I didn't get the job, and my agent at the time told me that they said that I wasn't marketable enough for Middle America. And I knew exactly what that meant. It meant I was too black for Middle America. That's what it meant, right? And when we talked about our TED Talks, I also brought up this example and I said that these brands and companies, they have to be the pillar for introducing diversity, inclusivity into these demographics, right? Because if you constantly say or incessantly say, Black people aren't marketable for this and that because they think the demographic is going to act a certain way, but that's no excuse to continue not to be diverse or inclusive. You know, change doesn't happen until one person's like, look, this is what's going to happen, and that's that.
And
right?
and during our TEDx talks, this was something that I mentioned, talking about diversity, inclusivity, and how it's very profitable for businesses, not only on a moral standard, should you want to be more diverse and inclusive in your advertising, behind the scenes, in the boardrooms, high profile positions.
That's something I brought up.
Right, but it has shown to be time and time again much more profitable and sustainable for that company to be diverse and inclusive.
You talk about the Italian Vogue.
Yes.
Remember you brought that up?
Right. That was, I forgot what year it was, but it was the first issue that Italian Vogue, their cover featured all black models. And it was their highest selling issue ever. In fact, advertising actually went up from that issue. So it's a very meat point to say that, you know,
Right, it's
the
not
old
marketable.
way will continue to work,
Right.
because it will not.
That old vanguard continue thinking, oh, you know, we're just catering to the demographic and, you know, diversity and inclusivity doesn't sell. That's BS.
Mm-hmm.
It's BS. Yeah. I keep it polite, you know. It's BS. So I have some great reading recommendations. If anyone's interested on learning more about this
Right.
topic.
But then also too, like that just made me think about as well as with us and dealing with in business settings and email and corresponding back and forth and having people of certain brands and companies address us as girls when my white counterparts, and I know this because we're friends, because we have a very multi-diverse group of friends, and they will be dressed in that same context as ladies or by their names. And
Call Me By My Name.
yes,
It's a song and it's relative to everything.
yes. So it's also, breaking down those kind of stereotypes where, a black woman is always referred to as like, hey girl.
Yeah. I'm like,
Which is fine too, because, I say to TK all the
Right,
time, we
but
call
it's-
each other hey
it's
girl all the time.
context, right?
Right,
It's
exactly.
context.
Right,
It's
not in a
context.
business
Right.
email, business setting where you're addressing someone else
Right,
the
and-
same in a different manner, but because I'm black.
Yes. And also too, that goes back to what we we're talking about when some people's representation of black women is all they see on TV. And if you have this narrow-minded purview of what black representation looks like in the media, and that's their only reference, they just repeat what they see often, right?
Right.
What becomes memes and what becomes, viral, and but they don't relate to you as a person. They relate to you based off these stereotypical views they have of black people. So if I walk into a boardroom, I want to hear, "Hey girl, how you doing?"
Right.
I want to hear that. I want to hear Miss Kwan.
Especially when the person that is saying hey girl usually has a tendency to not be black.
Yes. And even if they were,
Right.
I still
right.
have a problem.
Yes, I mean, I still would have a problem with it, but I'm
if you're not
saying
addressing everyone the same way by
Right.
their names, like say my name, say my name.
But I'm saying in
right?
general, a lot of times it does happen to be.
She hit
you
her
know.
head. She hit her limit with me singing songs. That's
No,
all I say.
it is fine, but you can see how passionate I am about this. That's why I was just saying, like, it. Yes, but yes, TK loves a song.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
trying to lighten the mood. Look, she's like, I said, say my name. I said, say my name. Say my name. Okay, C. Brown. Okay, C. Brown Aquan. Jeez, say my name. Okay. So, if anyone's interested in reading these really great reading materials that I found, one is a book and it is titled Black Women's Portrayal on Reality Television. And there's another great article by the Washington Post that's titled What Does Reality TV Owe Black Women? And I just wanted to read a short quote from that article. Michelle Rice is the president of TV One, which targets an African American audience, said the conversations at other networks are more all-encompassing than they have been in the past. Quote, "It's not just about putting a black movie here, having a black TV show here," she said. "It's about having black people in production and programming roles that have true green light power to make sure that we're putting things on the air that are true, authentic, and quality representations of all people of color," end of quote. Progress is slow, but many say executives are realizing the importance of having more people of color behind the scenes. Yeah, it's slow. It's tortoise slow, especially for 2020. I was like 2022, it's tortoise slow, and not applauding any company for being like, oh, you hired your first black person, first Asian woman, first Native American. Okay, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, what you want, a pat on the back, job well done? It's 2022. I can say that, okay, it's good that you're making the steps forward to create this change, right? But it has to be viable and it has to be long lasting. It can't just be treated like a trend. You hire a person of color here and then forget about it for the next 5, 10, 20 years until someone else makes an uproar publicly and then you hire again. That's what we're talking about. When you have these changes and you're trying to implement these changes within your brand or your company, they have to be long lasting, they have to be viable. And you also have to have people on your boards, black people, people of color that are passionate about these issues. You can't just hire people because they're a person of color.
And you also have to hire people because someone is black. It doesn't mean that they know the culture.
That's what I'm just.
Yep.
Yep.
There's been incidents with certain brands, and they do have black people in high positions and people that should have caught it, but because you don't know the culture, that means you have to be educated in the culture.
Right.
And if you're not educated in the culture, because it just means you haven't been experienced enough, then you're not going to catch these. When you look at something, you'd be like, hell to the no.
Right, you know,
that's
it's
not
like,
going into
you
the
know.
design room. That's not going to come through.
But see, Brad and I would laugh and be like, well, if we were on these boards, it wouldn't have made the first round. We'd be like, nope, send it back, send it back, you know? That's what you need.
Yes. Yeah, so it's important to have people that also understand the culture.
Right.
Because, you know,
And
some
just
people
because
don't-
someone's a person of color doesn't mean they will.
Right.
You know, that's not indicative.
Right.
So, yeah.
Just stating the facts.
Mhm.
What do they say, Erica?
Erica, Stranger Things.
Stating facts. But, you know, that's why it's been really great, because I've always had someone to talk to about this,
Right.
because we are not only best friends and sisters, we're also business partners. So
Right.
it's great to be able to like communicate, and when I'm frustrated about something, to be able to talk to my sister because she understands, because we're going through the same thing
Right.
together.
Exactly. You know, even our experience, and we've probably delved, I think this is even a more longer conversation we had, particularly our
Yes.
experience in the industry.
I think so too.
We've seen firsthand how talent that's white, that's presenting themselves in a certain way, especially when it comes to the body and revealing, being very revealing, and how it's been really receptive to some brands. But if a Black person or a person of color does it, then it's too risque, it's too sexy. Seeing those comparisons as well, even with body inclusivity. You know, the thinner you are, the risque, the more risque it is, and it's okay. But if you're a thicker woman that's being, you know, showing more of your body, then it's, oh, that's too risque, that's too sexy. Coming up with combating those issues, especially contingent upon the color of your skin. So I think that's also another great topic.
That's a great point.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely a topic we should discuss furthermore into.
So I'll just dip my toe.
Yes.
Next time I'm gonna dive in. Right?
Our bond was something that I have always cherished. You know, there's not a day, and I realize how lucky I am, there's not a day that has gone by where I ever felt alone, but also too, because I've been so close and we've had this strong bond. I've also done plenty of things in my life alone. So
Right.
it was like,
And being comfortable.
and being
Right.
comfortable being alone. So I feel like because I've always had you by my side,
Right.
it gave me the strength to be alone in a lot of situations, and it seemed very easy for me to adjust to that.
The same. And
Right.
that's a really good point. No, because we have had such a bond and we spend so much time together, we also don't have a problem spending time by ourselves. I just suggest that you don't spend your time by yourself in a Times Square movie theater that's nearly empty. Because I had an incident watching Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh my God.
And some idiot trying to rub one out
Oh my God.
behind me.
A pervert?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's a pervert. Nearly empty theater, sat his little tail right behind me. I heard a zipper go down and some moaning. I stood up and I said, oh no. Oh no. I know somebody is not trying to masturbate behind me. That's why I stood up and I said.
She sure did.
I
She
did.
sure did say that.
And you know, that little.
She's like, excuse
He
me.
got real quick and ran out the theater. And I sat back down, and in retrospect, I probably should have went out to tell someone at the theater, but because I was watching Pan's Labyrinth and it was such a good film, and I paid like $50, you know, I didn't pay $50, but you know, it's expensive. Paid so-and-so money to see my movie. I was like, I'm not gonna let that man ruin my day. In retrospect, I should have said something, but I was very young. You know, I was in my early 20s, and you deal with that. That's another whole topic too, to talk
I have
about.
so many
Yeah.
stories, especially like within the modeling industry.
Yeah,
For me
so that's another good
personally.
one.
Mm-hmm.
We're just coming up with topics within the topic
Yeah.
that we're talking about.
So
That's
these
how
are
we do.
future, you
Yeah.
get a little sneak preview of the future episodes that we're going to be talking about. But yeah, I mean, like back to Sisterhood. So
Oh, sorry, I digress.
Yes.
We do that a lot when we talk to one another, so you just get to see it in real life.
right.
Okay.
So you'll see it on
She'll
the
be
show.
like, stay on topic, TK, stay on topic. I was like, okay, sorry.
stays on topic a lot. But you know, this is just a natural part of the discussion.
Right,
You know, we
yeah.
don't script any of this. So this is just us speaking freely.
Right. We write our bullet points and, you know, try to make most of them.
Right.
But yeah. Try.
But you know, and because of that, I've always valued what friendship means because it's been so important in my life.
Right.
And to have her like constant support and love and respect, you know,
I love you, sis.
I love you. I mean, it's true. It just makes me value other relationships that I
Yes.
have with other women. So
Right.
that's why TK and I were always supportive, especially when it came to women. We're always supportive of kind people in
Right,
general, but
exactly.
especially
Especially
regarding women
Yeah.
and sisterhood. Like, when you're dating a man, he could be a woman to me because I
Right.
am
You're
not
not
attracted
interested at
to
all.
it.
Like, ugh, no.
TK and I, we don't flirt. I respect that boundary. Like,
Like, see, Brand's boo, very good looking, but he's like my brother. I would never look at him like that. Like, ew. Look,
shout out to my boo.
well,
He's
not
such
you.
He's such a wonderful.
Yes, he is. Not you as in a sense of you. Like
Right.
you. Just you for me to think that there would be anything
Right.
beyond that. And I never got that, right? I never got women who were like that. And I never got why women were, and I do get it, but saying that I would never be like that. I never understood why women choose to cut other women down in such vicious and vile ways. But, hey, we're speaking about projecting and those
Right.
people dealing with their own insecurities.
Yes.
That's why when other women are like that, and we encountered that a lot in the industry, a lot,
Yes.
to our face,
Yeah.
plenty online. But, I don't care. People got their things they're going to say about me. I can't control that. I can always control how I react to
Right.
it. I can't control what they say or think.
And
And why am I waste my good day worrying about that?
And it's kind of like what we discussed in the last episode. It's like, what we said, hurt people hurt people. So when you understand the foundation of why people act certain ways, then you can understand why they're responding to you
Right.
or speaking to you in a certain way or giving you attitude or whatever it may be. But then it helps you to understand that you don't have to let someone bring you down to
Right.
their level.
Right.
And it makes it much easier when you understand, oh, wow, that person must really be going through a lot of stuff to be acting in this way.
Yeah, and there's power behind sisterhood. When you talk about having close relationships with women, I just happen to be very lucky that I was born with a twin sister and we have an extremely close relationship. But you can have a sister with someone that's not blood related and still have it be as equally powerful and a close bond.
Yes.
But I always thought about women who are negative towards other women or bitter and spiteful, and just saying that it's their loss. It's their loss that they don't understand the power of sisterhood, because it can be incredibly inspiring, can motivate you. It just has all these wonderful components to it that are so beneficial for your life and also necessary.
And sisterhood, as TK said, it doesn't have to be blood, because as we all know, I'm sure a lot of you know out there, we know too, that you can't make someone change if they don't want to change.
Right.
So it is not your
Includes blood.
responsibility to change that person's life. They have to want it, they have to do it, and they have to take action of it. And you're not responsible for that. So if they don't want to do that, then you can respect that, but you can also respect yourself enough not to have to deal with that kind of energy.
Right.
So sisterhood, most definitely.
And
Just like when you call someone your father, they might not be blood related, but they do all the duties, they take all the actions and show you what fatherhood really means. Just because someone has a child or just because someone's your sister or your brother, that doesn't necessarily mean
Right.
that it's the definition of what a sister or a brother or a father or a mother should be.
And if they're treating you in a way that you shouldn't be treated,
Right.
blood has nothing to do with like, oh, it's okay because they're my brother and my sister, my mom, my father. They're blood. No, family is how they treat you. It doesn't matter about blood.
Right.
How you treat each other.
And you can have a difference of opinion, but you can also do it in a respectful manner. I mean, TK and I do it all the time. I mean, we agree on a lot of things.
Yes. But there's some things we
But
don't.
some things we don't. But whenever we discuss like the argument that we had last week about the pizza,
Wasn't my fault, y'all.
no,
Little sister here, big sister.
but I'm saying like, we did it in a very civil manner and we made up in 2 seconds. So,
Right.
I mean, we only argue about food.
Yeah,
so.
we do. And what was the last time I think we were talking, I said, if you want something split evenly, ask a twin. Nobody gonna split your food evenly
Mhm.
more than a twin will.
Down to the grain.
Yep. Ask a twin. Ask a twin. You've been talking a lot about sisterhood, and I just want to let you know that it's been equally as imperative in my life as well. I can't imagine, going through this world without the bond that we have.
Mhm.
Besides it being so essential to our survival, it's been essential in every aspect of my life. And I know the power behind it because I've seen what it has done for the two of us. I love this woman so much. I love it so much. I mean, y'all gonna get tired of hearing, like, every
I
episode
know.
you're gonna be like, they always like hugging and saying they love each other, and hey, you ain't about that life. We are.
And if you come to
Don't
see
judge.
some fighting, this is the wrong channel.
Yes.
Let me tell you that right now.
I think it's funny, right? Because I think a lot of twins have close relationships.
Yes.
Well, all the twins that we know have close relationships, especially the identical ones.
Right.
Like,
I mean, I did see some twins, but this was years ago on one of those like talk shows.
Oh. But I mean, with our own lives, like every set of
Yes.
twins we know are all very close.
Yeah, every set of twins we know are very close.
Mhm. I think that's a beautiful relationship.
Yeah, and my sister is literally my heart. I mean, she literally is, because we are identical twins, and it was one heart that was split into two. Oh, that's so beautiful.
I guess.
Is it?
I mean,
'Cause we were
we didn't have a heart in the egg.
Well, yeah,
though,
we
but
didn't have a heart in the egg, but
yeah. I get the gist.
You know what I mean.
Like, look, I gotta break it down because some people be like, well,
That is very true. People will.
Let me do it for someone else. Come for my sister. Okay.
People will take it very literally.
Yes, they will.
But yes, like I just meant that
Yes.
we were one
Mhm.
egg and we were split
Mhm.
into two. So I feel like our bond is more closer than perhaps just because we're
we had a
identical
relationship in the womb.
twins. Mhm.
You know, I think you come out being close.
Right.
Literally.
and I think because like we've always had this constant source of support for each other, this is the reason why I never thought to tear someone else down,
Right.
because I saw the strength
Right.
and the beauty in it constantly my entire life. So, and I know how it made me feel. So I just thought that, I would want to give that in return for someone else.
Right. We never cut each other down. And I would never think about doing that to another woman. I couldn't imagine doing it to you.
Mhm.
Why would I do it to another queen?
Exactly. And yeah, I mean,
You have this quote that you wanted to wrap up,
yes,
right?
I did.
Go on, tell the people. Speak to the people. Well, listen.
TK and I, this is one of our favorite quotes by Maya Angelou. And I thought it'd be a great way to take us out of the episode because I feel like it's very...
Yeah. So we can finish our Shake That Melon.
Yes, because I want to shake that melon.
Ooh.
Look, I only had a
melon,
sip.
not these melons.
Yes,
So,
yeah, not these
the
melons,
watermelon.
the
not these
watermelon.
melons.
But
hey.
so this is the quote by Maya Angelou, and it's talking about sisterhood, brotherhood. She said, I do not believe that the accident of birth makes people sisters and brothers. It makes them siblings, gives them mutuality of parentage. Sisterhood and brotherhood are conditions people have to work at. It's a serious matter. You compromise, you give, you take, you stand firm, and you're relentless. And it is an investment. Sisterhood means if you happen to be in Burma and I happen to be in San Diego and I'm married to someone who is very jealous and you're married to somebody who is very possessive, if you call me in the middle of the night, I have to come.
Hey. Book that flight immediately. Yep.
And before you even finish, you'll just hear a ring because that's me out the door.
Yes.
Or I booked my flight.
Exactly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the end of it?
Yes, that's the end of it. Yes. Oh, okay.
I thought we were going deeper.
No.
I was like, okay. I was like,
So that quote was by Maya Angelou, one
Yes.
of our favorite writers, poets, authors.
Dr. Maya Angelou.
Yes, that's right, Doctor.
Dr. Maya Angelou.
Don't get it twisted.
Yes.
Ooh.
All about
Call her by her
giving our
name.
Black queens their titles. Dr. Maya Angelou.
We're just
'Cause
talking about names.
I know we all saw that video when that doctor was on that conference call and some official refused to call her by her title. And she had to correct him every single time and say, it's doctor.
Right.
So yes, Dr. Maya Angelou.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's a beautiful quote.
Yeah. And also, too, I just wanted to say real quickly
Mhm.
that I thought what you said about forgiveness on the last episode was
What is
so
that?
beautiful.
What is that?
Talking about not understanding that if the abuser or the perpetrator doesn't acknowledge, doesn't speak their truth and the abuse that
Doesn't
they
take
cause,
accountability.
and doesn't take accountability, that doesn't dictate your journey in forgiveness. That
Right.
shouldn't
You
be
don't have-
the end all of be all.
Right.
To
It has nothing to do with your journey of healing.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. I was
you.
just listening to that. I thought that was really beautiful
Thank you.
to say. I just wanted to
you.
say that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I meant to say
I feel
it
like
last
you
night.
have lots of insightful things to say. So if you call in one thing I said insightful, then hey. Well, she doesn't call one thing.
Oh, I say a
She
lot
has a
of
few
things.
things, but I'm
Not
always
a few.
proud
yeah.
when she calls it out. Okay. Thanks, sis. That came out of the blue. I was like, okay.
Let's end this episode before we start making people throw up.
Yes. Or we
Just a trigger warning. We're going to make you puke with all the love that we have for each other.
Yeah, that's our disclaimer.
Yeah.
Or before we start going on a different tangent, people be like, I thought this show was okay.
Yeah. We'll be like, no, I love you.
Yeah. No, I love you.
I love you.
I love you.
I love you. I love you.
Now I sound like that.
And then the head's going to
Yeah,
turn
yeah.
like exorcism. Okay, let's get off this. Let's end this episode.
Let's get off.
Okay.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We really appreciate you tuning in.
And if you have any questions,
Yes.
please feel free to leave it in the comments and we will address you by name. And
Mhm.
depending on the question,
We'll
we will
answer it.
respond.
We'll answer.
Mhm.
So thank you for
All
joining
right.
us on
Chew on something.
Hey.